Hello, Mountaineer Nation. Yes, the CFP playoffs are going on, and we're down to 4 teams. Of course, you know those 4 teams: Notre Dame, Penn State, Texas, and Ohio State. But I like to look at the money behind the success of the college football playoffs. 3 out of 4 of those teams have contributed heavily to the private NEO collectives. Those are organizations that have popped up around the country supporting their universities. And yes, it's about the money. They have contributed. 3 out of those 4 teams have contributed over $50 million to these NEO organizations in order to boost the name and likeness of their players that are on their rosters at the Power 4 level. That's what it's about. And that's why they've been formed. No, I'm not a big fan of them because I don't want to see the same 12 teams show up every year in the NC2A playoffs, and especially not the same teams in the Final Four every year. But we have a great disparity in contributions and donations to these organizations and how they work. The top end teams are putting in as much as $20 million into these NEO programs. I'll say it again. In 1 year, they raised $20 million to help Power 4 student athletes to boost their brand. And if we look at it and break it down, their brand is name, image, and likeness. And it can also be used as a compensation system. There's a reason why people are running out of the portal to get what money is available if their school is not paying. That's just the long and short of it. When we talk about boosting student brands, we're talking about name, image, and likeness. So let's just put something to it so that you can see what that really is. Autograph signings, talking at camps, product endorsements, selling apparel, video games, all of those things, social media posts. The organization is supposed to create opportunities for these student athletes to develop their brand. But we are smart enough to know that there's more than that going on. Okay, because if you're putting $20 million into a private NEO collective, and that collective is not transparent, you don't know how much they're paying the athletes because it's never disclosed, and you don't know what they're doing with the money in those private organizations. So I call them, it's the grab bag system, shadow corporations that you don't know what's being funded. But this is one thing I do know. 3 out of 4 teams, it's estimated, and I'll say it again, that they've put in over $50 million combined into the private NEO collectives. The 4th team I don't know because it wasn't listed, but that's the estimate. Whereas at West Virginia University, on the list, they were estimated as contributing between 3 to 5 million to the Country Roads Trust. Do you see the disparity? So when you have athletes picking up and leaving and you don't know why, well, that's a start. Where is the money? But one thing I don't want is I don't want the same 4 teams showing up in the Final Four of the college playoffs every year. I got tired of that with the AP poll and the coaches poll. You could almost guess who were going to be in the top 10 every year. Now this NEO collective, I don't like it. And the reason why I don't like it is because the blue blood programs already have an advantage in recruiting, even without all this money hitting the street. And that's why I think that the funds for the private NEO collective should be redistributed to athletic departments for the upgrades of facilities around the campus. New scoreboards, new equipment for gymnastics, new weightlifting room, luxury skyboxes, that sort of thing is what private money should be going to, like the old booster system. But what we have now is these private organizations are set up. Donations are pouring in. You get up to $20 million, you know what that can help you do? Number one, it can help you maintain a stable roster because you can pay some of the players that you want to keep. And then you can entice other players to come to your program because you could pay them. And I'll stress this. We don't know what they're paying these athletes, and it should be made public so that we could know what those private NEAL collectives are paying out. What are they doing with the money? How much money? What's the market? We need to know what the market is if we're going to compete. And that goes for West Virginia University or any of them. It's projected that their Country Road Trust chips in about $5 million. But that pales into comparison to schools that are putting in 20 to 22 million. That's a disparity. They're always going to be able to get the top end athletes. I am for a fair compensation system, and the private NEAL collectives are not that. All they should be used for are their donor funds for the upkeep and the upgrade of the athletic department. Should not be doing deals with college athletes. It shouldn't happen. If the athlete can get endorsements with arm's length transactions, that's all well and good. But I favor the profit sharing system, and the private collectives have got to be shut down because you see where it's going. The money teams are in the Final Four, believe me. They spent the money, bought the players they needed to get, and kept their rosters intact. That's what's going on. So I want a level playing field with this situation. And that's what the private NEAL collectives are doing. You don't want to create a race for donations or a money race. Or you just, as a West Virginia University, you might not be able to keep up. So what I'm saying to you in English is they need to redirect those donor funds and use them for the upkeep of their athletic programs at the Power 4 level. Do the things with them that they should be doing and not entering into contracts with college athletes. We're already having trouble with that. 3 or 4 players down in Florida is suing Florida State and their coach over contracts. They were promised a large sum of money, each one of them. I think it was like $250,000. But they didn't get paid. The guy at Nevada, Las Vegas, he was a quarterback. He thought he had a deal with the boosters until he didn't. So we need to get all of that private money off the streets and redirected the way it's always supposed to have been used, even though we know there were illegal payments to athletes by boosters that nobody could ever see. But all of the money should be going to the athletic department and let them allocate it the way they're going to allocate it for the upkeep and upgrade of the facilities, the sports facilities. Compensation should be settled by another system. And I'll close with this. There's a case, 3 cases that are coming to settlement. It's on the federal judge's desk, and it's going to usher in a profit sharing system. The only holdup is they're trying to find out what to do about the third party NEAL, private NEAL pay for play system. And I've told you what I want. Redirect the funds and shut it down, because it makes All the colleges, the universities, the top tier teams have a big advantage in that. And it showed up again with this college playoffs. On part 2 of this, I will address those cases and also the federal judge. I will discuss the $2.8 billion settlement. So I will get into the legalities, but right now, the private neo collective stinks. And it just amounts to unfair competition. It gives those schools a competitive advantage. 20 million to 22 million is always going to beat 5 million. That's the way it goes. C. Ivan Franklin, one minority voice, one view at B. Frank for real. You can repost this, you can share it, you can subscribe to the channel, you can do all of the above. But I'm going to keep coming at you, being frank about what's happening in college football. It's not all about who's winning. How much is it going to cost to win a national championship in football? Well, right now the going price is $22 million. Is that what we want college football to get to? The big spenders are always winning championships. There's a big problem there. So they need to get that compensation system cleaned up as soon as possible. See ya, and go Mountaineers!